I currently serve as the chair. If anyone wants interpretation, we have interpretation in the back. And if anyone wants to join, I believe we have membership forms in the back as well. We'll get right into our standing reports, starting with our patrol watch update. Commander Hurd, welcome back.
Where is everybody tonight? They're here? Are you on there? Okay. Hello. Thanks for coming out. I will say this is a great time to be on the west end of town. Be glad because the east end of town is chock full of smoke. I just came from even inside of our station, it's very smoky. So this ocean breeze and the nice clean air is nice over here right now. So enjoy that. The fire is burning toward Ventura. So there is some places that are under an evacuation warning. However, we've been told that the winds have kind of settled down a little bit and they think they've been able to stop it from coming into Ventura, at least for now. So that's good news. And they might actually even lift the evacuation warning on the east end. So hopefully they are able to get control of that for us. So that's the update on that. In other news, we have up the crime map. So you'll see up there, these are the last month's crime stats for your area. Again, I like to remind you, if you've never looked at this map or if you just don't remember, some of these numbers look a little bit high. If you're looking at 15 assaults and you're thinking people on the street are just randomly getting attacked, that's very few of the incidents being reported here. The way the crimes are now reported, those include everything from domestic violence incidents to family disputes. Like, for instance, I reviewed all of the crimes month, and there were three that were brothers fighting each other in their own house, things like that. So that's reported in here as well. I didn't see anything that stood out as too particularly different from normal on the crimes that occurred in the last month. But if you have any questions about any of those, feel free to let me know. Then we have the other map, which is this is a particular interest to one of your constituents, Mr. Bello. He asks for this report. This is a report of all the narcotics calls that we receive when someone calls into dispatch and says, hey, I see someone either doing narcotics or selling narcotics or something like that. These are all the calls that we received that are either narcotics calls or overdose calls. So for last month, there were 18 narcotics calls and 3 overdose calls. Most of those narcotics calls, I went through them, are when we get there, they're either gone, or we get there, we contact the people and we don't find them doing drugs. There are some that result in arrests. If you go back to the crime map, you'll see that there was 27 narcotic offense reported on here. That's because these are not necessarily narcotics calls that we got. That's generated by our officers stopping people sometimes for something else completely different, but they end up arresting them for a narcotics related arrest. So of those 27 offenses there were actually 28 arrests because one of those had 2 people arrested. So that's why those numbers look a little different from each other. And then any questions on either of those? The other thing I was going to let you know, if you hadn't heard already, it's already been announced to the city council and city leaders, so I'm not letting any cats out of the bag here, but our chief, Darren Schindler, has announced his retirement. So yeah, he'll be retiring in December, and they're going to open a recruitment for a new chief of police. So we do have 2 assistant chiefs currently. So one or both of them could put in for the position. And then my understanding is that they're also going to open it for outside chiefs just to make sure that there might be a better candidate out there, or maybe we decide, yes, we looked at all these candidates and we have an internal candidate that would do a great job. So you have a resume. I like this. Okay. It's full time. Yeah. In after hours meetings and, you have to, all sorts of stuff. But yeah. Yeah, so just so you are aware, if you see Chief Schindler, he's looking forward to retirement. I know they will not be able to fill the position by December, so we'll probably have an interim chief between the time he retires and getting the full-time chief. So it won't affect your daily lives whatsoever, and our operations will go on as usual, but I just thought I would announce that to you so you know. I was talking to Sandra there in the back, and she reminded me we had a police resource center. It used to be called a storefront at 110 North Olive. I don't know if you've ever made aware, but it hadn't been a storefront for a very long time. We didn't have anyone staffing it. but it was still a resource center where officers would come. So you'd see police cars there a lot and officers coming and going and things like that. That's been shut down. We don't have it anymore. The space was just becoming a little bit dilapidated and we're having a hard time keeping it up internally and things like that. So we actually relocated it to, we have our officers using a resource center that's inside of City Hall. So there's a room, you'll see officers coming and going more often, I think, from City Hall because they're using that space to access the bathroom, use computers, things like that. So again, we didn't have a storefront. It's not like you lost a storefront, but the officers won't be coming and going from that location anymore, just in case that's of interest to you. Yeah, I know I'll have to go I'll have to find her and just make her aware because she'll be upset about that. Uh-oh, Sharon, we love you, but if you want to come back and man the storefront, maybe we'll bring her back.
Yeah,
No, just kidding.
yeah, I saw some chatter on Nextdoor about that. People were wondering what happened there. Did you guys look at the west side? Any other storefronts along the avenue by chance? Is that an option?
I don't know. So that space was donated to us. We don't rent space or anything like that. It was that shopping center gave it to us for free. All the resources, like most of it, we didn't pay for anything. We just had to bring in our own computers and things like that, and our own supplies. But I think that was primarily the reason why we didn't look for anything else. Nothing else was offered to us for free. So it's not an expense to the city. And there was a vacant room at City Hall. And the benefit to having it at City Hall is we have the resources behind City Hall, meaning that they already have housekeeping staff and things like that that can keep it up and keep it clean for us, because we didn't have that at this other location and we were having to have volunteers come and clean up after our officers, and that's just not cool for them. So yeah, we didn't find anything else. So that we had a room available. Any other questions?
We have a question on Zoom. They say, I've noticed possible speeding on Olive between Harrison and Maine. Can that be looked into somehow?
Yes, I would recommend you can put it in the chat in the notes or let Helen or Marco know and they can forward me the information. But it's much easier if we have a time frame, if it's occurring like, before school time and you have the hours, or is it in the evening after work, or if you give us times of day, it's a lot easier for us to look into, because if we go like right now, it's probably not happening, or maybe it is. Maybe this is the time of day that it's happening. So if you can narrow it down for us a little bit, I can let our officers that work the area know. And if it becomes a very large problem, then we can get our traffic officers on it as more of a hot spot. So yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you as always. I think that's probably one of the top reports our community seeks every month. And empowerment to Chief Schindler. Next up, we have City of Ventura updates. Councilmember Campos could not make it tonight, as well as Alejandro from the city. So we'll just go and get our slides up and run through what the city sent us. So some news happening in the city. A red flag warning for the mountain fire has been issued for our county through 6 p.m. Tomorrow, Thursday, November 7th. It's a particularly dangerous situation due to the dry vegetation in the area, but based on Commander Hurd, it sounds like the winds are kind of moving away. So hopefully, we don't want any wind, but hopefully it doesn't spread into Ventura. We wish everyone to be safe over there. Next up, we have expanded hours at the Ventura Avenue Adult Center starting December 2nd. It'll be open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays, and you can sign up for drop-in activities and group classes. So that's nice to hear. More hours for people to use that space. And tenant and property owner workshops. I know they've already had at least one workshop. They have City of Ventura is taking proactive steps to solicit feedback from the community on tenant and property owner protections. And you can go to the city website to find out more. I know we've posted it on Facebook as well. Helen, yes?
So the next meeting for the collaborative workshops is on November 9th. It will be a Spanish in-person meeting from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. At Juana Maria Elementary, and that's 100 Crocker Avenue. And then the next one afterwards is also a Spanish virtual meeting, and it'll be hosted on WebEx on November 14th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. So the next in-person meeting is November 9th.
Great, thanks for looking that up. Next up, we have the Westside Skate Park. An update. Construction is underway. They broke ground a few weeks ago, and completion on that is estimated to be spring 2025. And you can go to westparkskatepark.com to see the final design and renderings. I was passing by earlier and I saw them digging up big holes, and so definitely getting to work on that to get it done as soon as possible. And lastly, city council meetings are usually 2 to 3 Tuesdays a month at 5. And so this month there's going to be 2, next Tuesday the 12th and the following Tuesday the 19th, prior to taking Thanksgiving off. And that's all I have for city. The other thing for council meeting next week, I believe they're doing the Main Street moves. That's the big hot topic. So go ahead if you want to submit written comment or provide public comment in person on that topic. Next Tuesday's meeting, that's when they're going to decide on the fate of Main Street moves. Yes, the question in the back.
So there's just 2 other things that are not on the city slide, but were in our newsletter. So Kellogg Community Garden Cleanup is happening Monday, November 11th. So that's this coming Monday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. They're going to be mulching pathways, clearing weeds, sprucing up the space, and they're doing raffle prize giveaways. And then we have one more quick announcement, and it'll be in Spanish.
Se les está invitando para que vengan a podrás ver el diseño preliminar del Parque Parkway el día 9 de noviembre a las 2:30, 4:30 en Bellas Arts, aquí en la avenida.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, that's all the updates we have for happenings in the Ventura and Westside area, and I'm going to pass it over to our treasurer's update.
Sorry everybody didn't make it tonight, but thank you for coming that you did come. It's smells gooder in here, doesn't it? Like the kids said, it's gooder in here. Anyway, right now we have $639.06 in our bank account. So everybody needs to put in for their membership for next year. I have flyers in the back that you can fill out and give to me later, or you still have until the end of the year. Thank you. Be safe.
No, it's not how that works. We have our bylaws posted online if you want to see exactly how your one-to-one voting works.
The donation's actually suggested, just for
Oh, yes, and the
clarification
donation
purposes.
and it's by calendar year currently. So just I guess not that I want to say hold off, but hold off until next year. Otherwise, it'll count for this year. We want to change that in the bylaws, I think, but we're still working on that stuff. For what? Oh yeah.
I was just trying to hack the system. So tonight, when a new selection, is it a slate that's being elected tonight for the board? Can people vote online, or do they have to be present to vote?
So we're actually not going to have the election tonight. We decided to postpone that. Yeah, that was kind of a last minute decision. When we do have it, you will be able to vote online on Zoom or in person. It was going to be more of like a verbal hand raise vote. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not about history, but we can talk. Oh,
I was just talking to a little organizational development history. And at one point, there was a suggestion that membership be recognized by continuing participation. I mean, for example, I haven't moved from where I first was active in Westside, yet I've been told that I'm not a member because I don't fill out a form every year or whatever, or give money. And I don't really give a lot of money. I give seeds and time more than I do cash. So I will shake hands if no one has money. the point is that I think we would encourage more continual participation if we were more fluent on membership recognition and inclusive in the long-term, lineage. And then the old timer would be able to shape the participation and get more from new energy. So thank you for listening to my thought.
No, that that makes sense. And
I
oh, go ahead.
personally agree with Eric and participated in the bylaw revision committee and are proposing changes to those effects, because I also think it's offensive to make people sign up every year. But, it's a democracy. We got to get the others to vote on it. So, which in the board's defense has not been brought forward to their attention because we are still working on tax issues. Woo! No, I'm actually nominating Eric to the board, but we'll get to that item here shortly. Don't worry.
Or
Things that we are not putting on our YouTube channel, folks, for the Zoom people.
we're taking all of your suggestions into account. It sounds like Helen working on the bylaws is already factored that in for efficiency for sure. So it's balancing, right? That efficiency and signing up
Also
every year,
Pete.
as well as Pete. Yes, Pete's also on the bylaws committee. Sounds like we need to get Eric on the board. I agree with that. Maybe and so far, you know what? Before we get to I'm just gonna say so. Pete can't make it right now, so we're gonna skip GPAC. Under old business, we have our city service request information. There's a pothole hotline, but actually, there's the new Ventura Connect app. That's the most efficient way they're trying to get people on that now. So highly recommend looking into that. We'll have to get it. Go ahead. What are you gonna say? Oh yes, it's in our newsletter. So yeah, as mentioned before, the first formal item we had tonight was going to be the elections, but we voted as a board last minute, just postpone that due to a number of reasons. However, I think if say you can't make it next month, I don't think it's fair that you showed up this month when we said you were required to have people here this month. So we may have to make an exception for people that may not be able to make it next month that were able to make it this month. So if you would like to be on the board and you want to self-nominate, you can do that right now or email me or talk to me afterward, and we'd love to get you back on the board. And that goes for everyone else. That
I
go ahead, Helen.
nominate Eric and
I see.
myself.
I second that. So you know what? Actually, let's do this. We're not going to vote today, but if there's anyone here that wants to be on the board, we'll start taking note and making a list so we have it ready for next month. Which I'm just going to go over really quick in terms of how this would work. So you nominate yourself or someone else, and then if there's 9 or less, the board at our executive meeting last month voted to set next year's board at 9. So if there's 9 or less, everyone is just automatically that signs up and wants to be nominated will be on the board. If there's more than 9, then we go into a formal election requiring, in-person or online voting. You introduce yourself and stuff like that. But aside from that, we are postponing the actual election part and making it official until next month. But right now, I think it would be appropriate to, so we have a nomination for Eric, we have a nomination for Helen. I'll nominate. Oh, that's true too.
We're starting to list, we're accepting nominations starting now, and then it'll be,
Oh yes, Ron joined last year and honestly was our best new addition last year, heading up our revite. All right, Orlando, gonna nominate Orlando. Ron, I'm gonna nominate Pete. He's not here, but I know he said he'd accept. So far, nominate Kay, our longtime treasurer. Granted, to that point, we're just nominating people for the board in general. At the first board meeting with the new board, we then vote on who's going to be in what position, but just in general, who's going to be on the board. So right now, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I count. Yvonne's online. I'll also nominate Yvonne. So that's 8 so far. Food connection.
Marco, hi, this is Ruth. Could you just give a little brief synopsis or give, what is the commitment to being on the board? How often does the board meet? What does it mean to be a board member there?
Yeah, so our board, obviously we have our general meetings every month except 1 month we go dark. Our board meetings tend to be the week after. Really, we try to schedule at least once a month, and we go over what we want to do as a council and kind of set direction. Our big project the last couple of years has been the Westside Fiesta, but we do, other things such as talking about what happens in our other committees, such as our bylaws committee, our flags committee, our revite committee. So it's just a time to come together and sort of figure out what we want to do as a direction for the community. Obviously, I should say obviously, but we're going through some legal matters right now, so we're sort of restricted, but once those are lifted, we'll be able to talk more in terms of how we fundraise, increase membership, and just do more things for the community. So by being on the board, you will have a voice in terms of the direction that we go as a council overall. I don't know if other board members want to speak as to what they see as the value in being on the board and what they do. If anyone, Helen?
Not to be a wet blanket or anything, it depends. So you can volunteer and only spend a couple of hours once a month setting up for the general meeting. You can volunteer and participate in planning for the fiesta, which takes up, it's a annual block party we're starting to hold. And we're hoping maybe it'll be at Kellogg Park again, who knows? But that does take quite like the planning effort. So you could be a part of that committee. You could join Ron if he chooses to continue with the Revite committee as well, doing work with them. There is like a couple people like the president, the secretary, and the treasurer who have to take care of the legal stuff, which does take more time. The communications position, which I'm in right now, is pretty demanding, like probably like 3-hour a week commitment, I feel. So it is what you can choose it to be, with the assurance that there's other folks who are more willing to add more hours of the week, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. So just to make sure I'm clarifying, the board will meet and come up with agenda items and such, like in an executive session, and then you have the general session, or do you just do the general session and then you break out with committees and such?
So yeah, at the executive meeting, we try to figure out who we want speak. A lot of times we get speakers that email us asking to get put on the general meeting agenda. Yeah, in the executive session, we get to discuss, as you said, different committees. So you can choose to also join and be a part of other committees or chair other committees, like Ron is the chair of our Revite committee. So those different committees, you don't have to go to all of them, but those are also options. Even community members can join that. But
okay, thank
yeah.
you. I'm sorry. I'm just asking because I was just on my HOA board and I'm just getting off of it, and I kind of want to not have a big commitment, but I wouldn't mind being on the board helping, and if it's not a lot of hours. If that makes sense. I guess I can participate beyond the executive session and general sessions as much as needed or wanted.
Yeah, for sure. As Helen said, make of it. And also, if you don't want to be, you could be on the executive order, you can be sort of a more involved general member also, if you want to be sort of spearheading a specific initiative, such as a Revite project that we're working on. If you want to get your feet wet that way, if there's a specific initiative that you...
Okay.
Oh, the Food Hub, yeah. So there's tons of different projects. If there's a new idea that you want to come up with and spearhead, then yeah, you can be on the board and be a chair, or you can be a part of that committee just as a regular community member as well. I guess oftentimes we don't have to put a title or label on it, but yeah, the board tends to vote on sort of the direction that we want to go.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two nominations. They're not here, so they'll have to, accept it. But Helga and also Maria Davalos.
All right. So that puts us up to, I think if I'm keeping track right, that puts us up to 10 so far. Okay. Do you have 9? List off the 9. Let me see. Listen one. What one's that? Yvonne and Orlando. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so we do have nominations that are over the 9, so we'll be taking a vote next month. And at that point, I think it'd be more appropriate to have people speak instead of right now, since we're not holding the vote until next month. And if anyone else wants to be added to that slate, they can do so next month as well. Are there any other questions or comments? No. Okay. We're gonna go right into our next. Oh, Yvonne.
Will we be having a community potluck for the December meeting as well as elections? Thank you.
Yes, our holiday party. So we'll determine the date, and it is likely to be at the same time as our holiday potluck. We'll try to do the elections quick in the beginning and then move right into our potluck. I know that wasn't popular last year, but if we can't find another date separately for a special meeting for the elections, then that might just be what it has to be next month, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, potluck. Yeah, I mean, it's a private venue. We don't have to. Yeah.
On behalf of Bell Arts, I will say they do not allow alcohol in this facility. Our insurance does cover it, but
I've seen
on behalf of our landlord.
Well, I'm gonna no. All right. Well, just cut the sound out for this part. Okay. So yeah, tell your neighbors and friends to come to our holiday potluck next month, and we'll get the word out for the actual election time as well. Moving right on to our presentation for tonight, the ocean rainforest. We have Kara. See her online right now.
Can
Can you hear me?
you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay, great. Am I like a giant head floating on your screen right now?
Somewhat.
I can never tell what I'm like being presented as when I'm virtual in a hybrid meeting.
All right, well, welcome, and we'll go ahead and pass it right along to you. You should have screen sharing capabilities, I believe.
Yes, it looks like I do. So I'll just pull up my slides very quickly. 1 second. Let's see, screen share. Okay. Okay, is everyone seeing the full screen of the slides? Okay, I see a nod. Yes, that's good. Sorry, let me just move these little like Zoom bars out of the way. Whoops. Where did it go? There we go.
What happened?
Okay. Are we good now?
Hold on 1 second. I think our audio cut out.
Oh,
Nope.
my audio cut out?
Uh-oh.
Well, we lost audio. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. I stopped my share.
Okay, you should be good now. All right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to share again. Thanks for your patience. Okay, that should hopefully be the full slides. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for having me at the meeting tonight. It's nice to get a glimpse into some of the local politics in Ventura, and it's nice to be able to do a presentation. I'm Tara Wallace. I work for Ocean Rainforest. I'm the Regulatory and Community Engagement Associate, so I'm doing a lot of the community outreach for the work that we're doing in Santa Barbara and Ventura. So this presentation today is kind of just to give an overview of what Ocean Rainforest is doing, and some of our upcoming project plans in Ventura. So some exciting things coming. Let's see, there we go. So just a little bit of background on what Ocean Rainforest is as a company. We are an innovator in sustainable seaweed aquaculture, and specifically offshore aquaculture, so farther than 3 miles off the coast. So kind of the overarching mission statement of Ocean Rainforest is to improve people's well-being and to make a unique contribution to our blue planet. So we are growing seaweed, cultivating it in the ocean. That is what Ocean Rainforest is doing. And then just a quick overview at kind of the problems that we're facing and what Ocean Rainforest is doing to address those problems. So obviously we're facing a myriad of environmental issues. There's climate change, there's ocean acidification, there's of course sustainability needs. So there's demand for low carbon sources of biomass, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And then finally, there's job demands, especially this whole blue economy workforce development that I think I've been hearing getting thrown around more and more, the idea of creating sort of sustainable jobs related to the ocean. And so kind of our solutions that we're working on in that realm is we're growing seaweed, which is absorbing carbon in the ocean and it's absorbing excess nutrients in the ocean. So it's cleaning the water. And then growing the seaweed itself requires no inputs. There's no fresh water. You don't need to use any land. There's no fertilizers, there's pesticides. So very low input biomass. And then it's also the fastest growing aquaculture sector in the US. It's something that's fairly new, but it's growing really fast. And so it could be a really great source of sustainable jobs moving forward. And so backing up a little bit, Ocean Rainforest originally started in the Faroe Islands, which is a tiny little chain of islands between Iceland and Norway. And that's where our first seaweed farms started and are still operating at this moment. So Ocean Rainforest has had experience over 15 years cultivating seaweed, and the Faroe Islands has some pretty extreme weather conditions. I like this quote that is specifically about the Faroe Islands. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes because it's just changing all the time. There's storms, there's winds, there's all these things, but we've successfully grown seaweed out there and that's been really promising. So that's where Ocean Rainforest got its start. And now we have sort of the California offshoot. And Ocean Rainforest was selected by ARPA-E, which is part of the Department of Energy, to basically research if we could farm seaweed in California, if it was feasible, specifically looking at giant kelp, which grows native in California. And so we're looking at if we can make it survivable in ocean conditions, if our infrastructure can hold up against the storms that we get in California, if we can scale it up, and if we can make it sustainable. So that is what we're basically looking into right now in California. And so just a little overview of what we currently are doing. We have in Goleta is our headquarters at the moment. We have a small hatchery lab where we grow essentially the baby kelps. We grow the whole cycle and then we attach them to ropes and we put them out in the ocean. So we're handling the whole process from extracting the seeds to putting them on the rope to putting it in the ocean. So we have our own lab facility in Goleta that's working on that. And then we also currently have a offshore demonstration farm in the water in the Santa Barbara Channel. It's about 5 miles off the coast of Santa Barbara. And the total footprint is about 86 acres. And we were actually the first ever federally permitted seaweed farm in the entire United States. So it's a big deal that this is happening. It's the first of its kind that's seaweed only in federal waters. And so it's research only. It's just an opportunity to gather data about how growing seaweed interacts with the environment and if our methods work. And it turns out it does. We can grow seaweed successfully. We've had the farm out there for about 1.5 years. We have it for 1 more year, so through the end of 2025. And it's been a really amazing way to collect information on what this looks like in action. And you can kind of see in the images, the top left image is sort of an aerial shot. You can see kind of this like rectangle of buoys in the water. And then the figure below is kind of showing what that looks like. So it's kind of this ladder shape farm with anchors shooting off of each of the ladders. And then the seaweed is grown kind of on the rungs of the ladder across that rectangle. And the buoys hold the seaweed about 10 meters or so below the water, and then the seaweed grows up to the surface as it floats and grows. So this has been a really amazing kind of experiment to see if this is feasible. And it actually survived some pretty significant storms last winter with no damage, which is really exciting and promising. And there's just a little like diagram to show how it looks from the aerial view. And so all of this is kind of leading up to our next endeavor, which is our commercial scale application. And that is what we're aiming to do off the coast of Ventura, which is really exciting. And so the proposed location of that partially came out of a study that NOAA did on aquaculture opportunity areas. And they actually identified, I think it was 5 or 6 of these areas in the Santa Barbara Channel and off of Ventura that essentially were well suited for aquaculture. It didn't mean that they were going to be used for aquaculture, but it just showed that there were areas around Santa Barbara and Ventura that were really well suited for different types of aquaculture. So we've selected one called N2D. It's about 2,000 acres total, and it's located out again in federal water, so farther than 3 miles offshore. And so it essentially would be a grid-like array of what we're calling ocean cultivation units. So our demonstration farm is kind of like one ocean cultivation unit. And then this scaled up commercial version would be a series of those units kind of strung together. And that would be phased up over a period of years. So we'd start with one and then do another and see if it works, et cetera. So if all goes to plan, we would expect to get about 6,000 to 11,000 wet tons of seaweed per year. So a pretty significant amount. And this is kind of a mess of things, but this is just to show that the site that was ultimately selected was came from a lot of different layers of data and input from different groups. This is just to show that, you know, this site is meant to avoid oil and gas. It's meant to avoid shipping lanes, ferry routes, as many other uses as we can avoid overlapping with. That's where this site came out of. So NOAA did this study and then also did, you know, community surveys and things to find this little kind of sliver of area that's not going to interrupt what that slice of ocean is already being used for, because it turns out the ocean looks really big from the coast, but there's so many different uses that take up a lot of space already. So the idea was trying to find one little square that wasn't going to impact things that were already being used in that area. And so you might be thinking, what are you going to do with 6,000 tons of wet seaweed? What do you do with all that seaweed? So our plan is after we harvest it in late spring and summer, it would get processed and basically liquefied into a biostimulant, which you can apply to agriculture. It's kind of like a fertilizer, but it acts a little differently. And so obviously we've got a huge agricultural economy locally in Ventura and Santa Barbara, et cetera. So there is a lot of market opportunity for something like a biostimulant for agriculture. And I'll talk a little bit more about biostimulant in the next slide. But essentially the idea is that we grow this seaweed locally and we apply it to the local agricultural market. And kind of through that, we're making improvements to the environment and trying to do some outreach with the community along the way. So that's kind of the quick, what are we going to do with that kelp And then I'll talk a little bit more about the biostimulants specifically. Because currently there's a lot of fertilizer used in agriculture all over the world. And it's actually a pretty significant source of greenhouse gases. A lot of the nitrogen that's getting applied doesn't get used very well in the plants. And so it ends up turning into greenhouse gases, or it goes into runoff into our waterways and into the ocean. So basically the idea with biostimulants is applying a biostimulant can actually reduce the amount of synthetic fertilizers that you need. And in turn, that can reduce the emissions that are coming off of that unused nitrogen and reduce the runoff into local waterways, especially since the agriculture industry is so huge in California. Just in Ventura alone, strawberries are massive, massive, massive industry. So there is huge opportunity to reduce some of these emissions that are involved with the fertilizers. So that's kind of the reasoning for doing biostimulant. And kelp just naturally has properties that are perfect for biostimulant, just the way that it grows. And so kind of looking a little bit more into specifically economic impacts in Ventura, one of our initial studies was looking at potential jobs, and we found that just from production, so processing the seaweed itself into the biostimulant, could create 50 direct and 125 indirect jobs. And then jobs created during construction, so the multi-year phased in construction of the infrastructure of the farm in the ocean, could be 150 direct and 350 indirect. So pretty significant job impacts just from this one company, and then potentially $30 to $50 million total economic impact to Ventura County through all these different avenues. So definitely an exciting potential source of new sustainable jobs in the area, and a pretty significant economic impact. And then there's also a ton of different educational opportunities that come with this type of proposal. The ocean farm itself would be an amazing school field trip site, site tours of the ocean farm, of our hatchery lab, of the processing facility. All of those would be great educational opportunities. Of course, internship opportunities. We've already had an intern with us last summer, and if we're scaling up, we would definitely continue to do that. Public workshops and seminars, that's a big part of the work that I'm going to be doing with Ocean Rainforest, is doing some of that public outreach, collaborating with research institutions. We've already had several collaborations with UC Santa Barbara, Stanford, UC Irvine, collecting data off of our farm. And then, of course, blue economy workforce development, creating some of those ocean-based sustainable jobs. So there's tons of different opportunities to kind of get the community involved and create benefits for educational purposes, especially because this is a pretty unique thing in California that we don't really have anywhere else. And then kind of just to sum it all together, why are we looking to do this in Ventura? Why specifically here? There's a lot of different reasons that this area is really appealing to ocean rainforest. The Ventura Harbor itself is one of the largest working harbors in California. It's got really good offloading capacity, which would be needed to offload the seaweed in the future. And there's plans and recent grant money that I saw announced that it's going to be used to modernize some of that commercial fishing infrastructure and offloading capacity, which is really exciting. And of course, I talked about the aquaculture opportunity areas that were outside of Ventura and Santa Barbara. And then, of course, proximity to all of this agriculture. There's huge, huge possibility for the biostimulant locally. And so kind of the vision that we're hoping for is that we create this cycle where you're getting some nutrient runoff from this agriculture that gets in the ocean and can sometimes cause water quality issues, and then growing seaweed to absorb some of those excess nutrients and clean up the local waterways. And then that would in turn get harvested and offloaded in the Ventura Harbor. And then ideally, we would be able to process it locally within the harbor jurisdiction and create, the smallest amount of transportation possible between those steps. And then that would in turn, that biostimulant would get applied to the local agriculture, because tons of opportunity, huge industry, the whole cycle would just be local. There would be no need to ship things across the world and, process them somewhere else and then ship them back. Our vision is really trying to keep all of that as local as possible. So I think that was my last slide. Let me double check. Yes. Okay. Sorry. I tried to like blast through that presentation because I know it's late on a Wednesday night. But I have my contact information here. I have my email, and then Ocean Rainforest is, of course, on all of the social medias, the Instagram, the Facebook. We've got a website, etc. that if you're interested, feel free to check out more. And of course, I'm always happy to chat more. If anyone wants to talk more in depth about this project, please feel free to send me an email. I'm very happy to talk more, and I'd love to take any questions if you have any now. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for letting me crash the meeting today and take a little bit of your time. And yeah, I'm happy to take any questions.
Anyone have any questions?
All right. Hey, Eric, that was great. Super cool. Is this proposed or underway right now?
So this is in the very early stages of the application process. We submitted an application. And actually, I totally forgot to mention this. I don't know why I didn't, but I think in the next week or two, we're expecting it to go to public comment. So that will be when the application materials are open to the public, and there'll be a public notice. And if you want to make a comment on the application, that's what that time period is for. So that will actually be opening up. They are estimating in the next week or two. So that'll be kind of the first opportunity to get involved and have your opinion on this project heard, which is really exciting that we've gotten to that point. So still very, very early stages of the process. This is probably going to be a 2 to 3 year application process, and we're about 2 to 3 months in at the moment. So very early stages, but about to hit a very interesting point.
Cool. And a couple other quick questions. Are you guys raising money, capital right now? And I'll ask the other question. The biostimulant, I work with Ron Whitehurst in Ventura Growing Circles and with the Rodale Organic Research Center in Camarillo. And it would be interesting to get some studies underway, especially if we're looking to locally produce this product. So it's all very cool stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, those are exactly the kind of groups and people that we'd love to collaborate with and see if we can, create some research and testing trials. But in terms of your question about raising capital, we are largely right now funded by grants from the Department of Energy, that ARPA-E program. So we're essentially just doing R&D, research and development, and using that grant money up to this point. And then ideally, the plan is if we are able to secure the permit to do this commercially, then we would be able to wean ourselves off of that grant money, and we would be self-sustaining by, selling the biostimulant product on the market. So right now, mainly grant funded, and then plans to wean ourselves off of that with this commercial project.
Say a couple of questions. Will you be also doing like a cattle feed supplement? There's been studies show that supplementing diet of cattle with about 2% seaweed can reduce methane gas emissions. And then what kind of waste products would be generated from your process?
Yeah, those are excellent questions. So we do have in our European branch in the Faroe Islands, the seaweed that they're growing there, some of that is being fermented into animal feed. It's a different type of seaweed than the one that's being researched specifically for methane reduction in cattle. So we aren't growing that specific type of seaweed, but we do have some animal feed products. And that's something that maybe in the future we would add to our processing here in California. But for now, the plan is just biostimulant. But the European branch is doing some animal feed with their seaweed varieties. And then in terms of sort of the waste product through the processing, the only waste product we get is sort of the leftover fibrous materials from the seaweed that gets filtered out because it's a liquid product at the end. So we filter out the fiber. And so that essentially is just sort of compost material. We have one local avocado farm that I think has already agreed to take a good amount of that compost just for their farm. So there's no sort of harmful waste at the end of it. It's just the fibrous seaweed material that gets filtered out, and that can just be turned into compost material.
And are you at the stage where you could do tours?
Yeah, so we are trying to we just have a small boat at the moment that can fit 6 to 8 people at a time, but we do tours of our farm out in the ocean. And then we also welcome if anyone ever wants to come by our headquarters in Goleta, where we have the hatchery lab and the processing facility. And I have yet to post this event online, and you might be the first group to hear of it, but we are planning an open house next month where we want to invite the community to our headquarters in Goleta to kind of check out what we're doing and see what it looks like and learn a bit more about the project. So if you're curious about our land side facilities, that would be a great opportunity to come check them out in December. And then we are trying to do some tours of the farm as we can. If that's something that someone is really interested in, we'd love to connect them with one of those tours as well.
Thank you. Yvonne has a question.
Hi, thank you for coming. I'm hopeful, but also curious that you will connect in the future with local education or any nonprofits specific to environmental justice. Any background on that? And can you tell us a little something about yourself and why you're doing this?
Sure. Thank you for those questions. Those are really great. Yes, we have started some conversations with some local schools and foundations. I recently had a really great meeting with the Merino Foundation. They're doing a lot of outreach with underprivileged students and trying to get them ocean education in different ways. And so actually just had a call with them a couple weeks ago. We might try to do some larger tours with their students and possibly sponsor some of their trips. So we're going to try to find some more avenues like that where we can work with some local environmental and education groups to kind of utilize our farm for more than just growing seaweed. It's also a great educational opportunity. So yeah, we've got some conversations with that group, trying to work possibly with some local schools to do some presentations and things like that. I think I'm really excited about, and that's a good portion of what my role is for. So definitely looking for those groups. And if anyone has suggestions, I'd love to hear if there's some groups or people that you think would be interested in working with us. And then, yeah, in terms of a little bit of my background, I actually went to undergrad at UC Santa Barbara. So I was in Santa Barbara for 4 years, and then I did a master's program at Scripps Institution of Oceanography in La Jolla, where I focused my studies on seaweed aquaculture because I thought it was very interesting, and it's a very specific topic, but I just thought it was really cool. And so I focused my schoolwork on kind of seaweed aquaculture in California and how it's kind of this new, potentially up and coming industry. And then ended up finding myself working on that as a career with ocean rainforest, which is really exciting. But yeah, I definitely am a bit of a seaweed nerd. I think it's super interesting. And I love all things ocean. I'm a surfer, so I'm in the ocean almost every day, try to do every day. So yeah, this is definitely a project that's near and dear to my heart.
All right, seeing no other questions, thank you so much for coming and providing this presentation. I think it's very valuable for our community to hear, and hopefully, kind of want to go out there and get a tour myself. I'm sure others in the community want to go check that out, but look forward to hearing more about this project as it progresses.
Thank you so much.
All right, next up on our agenda, before moving on to Levite, I did get a text from our Secretary, Pete Freeman, who also serves on the General Plan Advisory Committee. The land use survey that everyone had, I believe, a month to take and is now complete. Their next meeting is Monday, November 18th, where they'll go over that and provide feedback on that and hear back on all the survey results there. I think they usually meet around 6 p.m., but don't quote me. It could be 5 or 6:30, so watch out for the agenda, but save the date for November 18th in the evening for the next GPAC meeting. Normally we have Revite as a standing report, but this month we decided to do a little different, do a little hybrid, what was going to be election/annual meeting, and also Revite since we didn't have a meeting last month. So our chair, Ron, is going to come up here and provide the updates and also collect, any feedback per usual that we would have at our meeting. So I'll go ahead and pass it over to Ron.
I took a vacation last month visiting my daughter in the Chicago area. So didn't hold a meeting, but want to reiterate that we have these meetings to solicit input from our community of projects that people would like to see done or would like to work on. So let's see, our next meeting would be right around Thanksgiving. So not sure we'll have that one, but stay tuned. And then next month it is around Christmas time. We'll let's see, what's the fourth Wednesday, the date? Huh?
The fourth Wednesday in December is the 25th. So it is Christmas.
Right. So we may pass on those or pick an alternate date. Stay tuned. Okay.
Do you want to have a mini Revite committee meeting?
Oh, now? Yeah, okay. Does anybody have any suggestions for projects that they would like to see done?
I have kind of an update because I'll stand in the front so you guys don't have to turn around. Because I've been keeping track of the school district and their disposal of the surplus properties. It looks like the state is finally going to approve the school district's waiver request to not take the highest bidder, but to solicit requests for proposals from developers to either enter into a lease or sell the property and have projects. So the Westside Community Development Corporation will be supporting a development proposal for the old Avenue Elementary School that was closed down. I know I'm blanking on the name of the school. What is it on the other side of town? Has been in the hot topic lately. Washington School is one of the sites that will be up. There's 2 parcels that are landlocked and they're SOAR properties. Those will be released to the public first. So we have a couple sites. We have that Avenue Elementary School, and then we have the very gigantic Educational Services Center where the VUSD headquarters are right now. So that was zoned for, and Pete can squawk if I'm incorrect, but I think they're both zoned for mixed use 3, which is retail and also residential. So that's an opportunity for our community to participate in the decision-making process with our local school districts, because I think they're looking for workforce housing at this point.
Very good. So there's some opportunities for engagement with that. There was alarm expressed about cutting down some 70-year-old trees and Campos School, I believe it was, to make room for some solar panels that would be mounted on the ground versus on the roof. So it seems like the school district could use some input as to valuing trees. So if someone wants to send letters to the school board and to the city responding to the cutting of those mature trees, that's an opportunity to express yourself. And it seems that we need more trees, especially the mature ones that are habitat for potentially 1,000 different critters. Okay, anyone else have any suggestions? Okay,
I'm gonna put up a flyer that's someone sent me. It kind of goes along with one of the ideas of having community gardens. I believe I forwarded you this email. So there's the Land Resilience Partnership, and they sent this. I guess there's opportunities. So let's see. It says we'll transform your lawn, design a new garden with you, and build it for free. So they have funding for doing, swapping out your lawn for a garden, like in the front yard. So if your property has more than 350 square feet of lawn that has been irrigated since 2021, and your income falls below the median for Ventura County, or your property is stewarded or owned by a tribal member, then you can qualify for this program to be able to replace your lawn. So I know it's something we talked about. This is one group that's already kind of doing something along those lines. Didn't really seem like much of a partnership per se, just sort of passing along the information, but we can still do our own thing if we get some funding and working with our neighbors in the community. But this is one thing that's immediately available if anyone is interested. So I think we can probably post this in our newsletter, and there's a QR code there right now. So if anyone qualifies or knows someone that may qualify for this, have them take advantage of this program.
wow, that's an amazing resource. Does anybody know how they're getting their funding?
I didn't ask. I'm not entirely sure. It says, what does it say at the
Yeah.
bottom there? It says, oh, Department of Water Resources. That's
Oh,
they must
okay.
have got a grant for that. Yeah.
Okay, Department of Water. Right. Well, hopefully not quite zero-scape, but water efficient.
It reminds me, it's kind of like going around and trying to give away free money. People look at you like, what's the catch? I take that 20 and then what? I'm $20 richer. It's like, yeah, more or less. He goes, I don't know. I'll have to think about it. When we went door to door trying to give people fruit trees, and the only rule was that it has to be in your front yard. That was kind of a deal breaker. And that not everyone was comfortable taking care of a thing like that. And so this could be even better, because it's like, hey, don't take care of your lawn. Just the instructions are don't water. So this could be great, and maybe even easier sell than a fruit tree.
Any other comments?
Thanks. Like, they're kind of bigger tree. It's cool. They will grow.
Yeah, we can still find one of our neighbors that actually wants to do this. See a yard that may need a little TLC. So hopefully we'll be able to have someone take advantage of this, or a program that we're able to do. But yeah, we just got to start a pilot program and get people interested in it. So start that marketing potentially. But yeah.
Previously we had some community members join the Revite meeting, and they were interested in doing gardens in their own neighborhoods and then kind of helping grow it naturally from there. I know we have a lot of seeds in the back right now that are vegetables. But I'm wondering, like, if there's anyone here who also wants to participate in the grassroots community gardening endeavor, because I feel like that program it has the resources and some legs potentially. But I think one of the action items coming from that meeting was we do need to get organized and figure out what the directions are and all that kind of good stuff. This could be part of the program that we offer. So, those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, really put some teeth to it. Like, what's the time span? Is it like one day, a weekend? How many volunteers to go and just transform someone's yard? So I think that's for future reviving.
Put it as part of like the second Saturday, And because we sometimes also will go up and down the avenue, but we also go into the neighborhoods. So if like we had a place where we could get like water or an agreement with the household to use their hose and water for them, I mean, that's a once a month granted, but we could work something out if it wasn't like too needy of a vegetation type, I guess.
On the 11th. Clean up at Kellogg on November 11th. Oh yeah, that's right. That's what you were talking about earlier.
Integrate everything. You know, it reminds me of this crossover of Revite. Originally, Revite was Short-Term Revitalization Committee, which was like a junior planning commission. And the developers or any proposals would come through and present to the Westside Community Council Revite Committee as if they were at a planning commission and go through the whole song and dance. And now, I mean, that was cool. But it was a lot of terms of art and process. Although Pete's been doing that a long time. Now, when you're talking about Revite, it reminds me of what used to be called the Soul Committee. And that was a lot of cultural and community engagement projects, including Green Gardens, because Len Evans was on the Soul Committee and he was a local community gardener and super creative. So there's, I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of avenues to work on all these projects through this organization, and the potential is there and the levels of engagement are very flexible.
So generally, we see ourselves as facilitators of projects that the community brings up. And so we're open to considering all kinds of projects. And to do the projects, then we're looking for people to take a lead on those projects to put them in place.
Yeah, absolutely. We spearhead it, do a little pilot, and hopefully the community takes it and runs with it. Yeah, as Helen posted here, the city of Ventura's Parks and Recs department is hosting this Kellogg Community Garden Cleanup Monday, November 11th from 9 to 11 a.m. Sign up on the city website to volunteer, and it'll basically be sprucing it, cleaning up, giving you a little TLC because it can kind of get a little messy at times. But yeah, and if anyone else is interested in actually renting one of those garden spaces, I believe they have a few available there or at West Park, and I think there's one on the east side as well. But yeah. No other questions or comments? We'll forward more emails for the next Revite meeting and discussion in terms of where we want to go from there. But thank you, Ron. All right.
Very good. So thanks to everyone for attending the Revite meeting.
Keep going. You keep going. I don't
Okay.
didn't want to cut you
I
off.
think that, yeah, I think that pretty much covers the activities we're thinking about and that opportunities coming up.
Great. Now we got two mics. Don't believe there's any new business. If anyone has any announcements that they want to, yes.
So actually, thanks to Ron, I found out about an initiative that a woman in the county of Ventura is taking up, which is to introduce, basically make it legal for people to cook food in their home kitchen. Yeah, Mikos, and so I involved with the people that are in a grassroots effort trying to make this, to become a legal activity in the county of Ventura. And so I volunteered myself to be like an advocate for the city and I'm looking for another, person or couple of people to also, kind of team up with me, preferably someone from the Hispanic community. So it would basically make it legal for someone to cook food. The point is that this is perishable food, and sell it, out of your home kitchen. So it's a great, yeah. Not in the county of Ventura. They did it in LA. So cottage food is food that's not perishable. And this is food that's perishable. So I'm looking for another like a person to kind of volunteer with me. See.
So the next step, as I understand it, is to petition the Board of Supervisors to pass the ordinance to permit it in our county. There's a state enabling legislation that says the counties can individually decide if they want to have the MACO regulations, active in their county. And so the vote came up, was it last year, a couple of years ago, and it wasn't passed. And so we need to have meetings with all of the county supervisors to get them up to speed on it, and then have that introduced and then passed to enable it in the county.
Although they're trying to kind of just get support from the various cities in that county. It looks like Yvonne wants to say something.
Yvonne?
Thank you. Quick question. Would, let's say, approved, or the home industry that seeks to approve this, that you're representing, would they be exempt from health inspections, for example? Would they still be subject to health inspections? Should they be allowed to cook in their home kitchens for commercial purposes?
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm in touch with the person on the state level, and he said he's available if you want him to present at an upcoming meeting. Like he could, yeah. So he could be like on a Zoom, give a presentation and answer questions.
Okay, yeah.
As I understand it, there would be an inspection. It's not as rigorous as like for a restaurant or something like that. They just want to make sure that the house is reasonably clean and that sort of thing.
All right, yeah, if you can connect me with him, then we might be able to have him come to a future meeting, and I'll connect you with someone else that may be able to help you with those efforts. Oh, okay. Yes, Yvonne?
I really would love to nominate our community member with the microphone and the cute little beanie and the purple beanie. Honest to God, I think she would really be a good part of this board. Really, I really do. So just think about it. Just come to the next meeting. You're here anyway, every single month. And we love to see your face. So thank you. Just think about it. Thank you.
I'll bring wine.
She's so moved. They're already trying to secure votes. All right, if there's no other announcements or open comments, go ahead and adjourn the meeting. We have our holiday potluck on the first Wednesday of next month, December 4th. And that'll likely also be when we have our election, but we'll let you guys know for sure. Other than that, Thank you everyone for coming. Tell everyone to watch this replay on YouTube. We'll get it up shortly and have a great rest of your evening and stay safe out there. Thank you.